The Department of Home Affairs' draft white paper on citizenship, immigration and refugee protection unconstitutionally proposes to limit migrant society or socio-economic rights and could foster xenophobia rather than to curb it. Well, this is according to human rights as well as immigration organizations' scathing submissions on the white draft paper. And this after Minister Motsoaledi introduced the policy framework in November of 2023, and it proposes a radical overhaul of South Africa's citizenship, immigration as well as refugee laws. Please note that we have communicated with the Department of Home Affairs on this discussion and they are aware of this interview. But for this discussion, let's welcome Mr. Jason Brickhill, the SERI Director of Litigation, who joins us now for more detail on this story. Jason, a very good evening. Thank you so much for your time and welcome. Look, you submitted a SERI that South Africa is seeking to withdraw from a raft of treaties simply in order to take away socio-economic rights of foreign nationals would mark South Africa out of internationally as arguably the most assertively xenophobic state in the international community. Please elaborate on this notion, sir.
Thank you for having me, Alicia. And we're among several organizations that submitted comments before the deadline on the 31st of January. This is something we frequently do on draft legislation and draft policies. And typically we would identify parts that we agree with, parts that we suggest might be improved. But in the case of the white paper on citizenship, our view, and that's a view shared by many in civil society, is that the white paper is unconstitutional and needs to be withdrawn. We're concerned that it was rushed through. And in relation to the issue of our international obligations, we've taken the view that the policy would put South Africa in breach of its obligations under a range of different treaties. So the white paper itself focuses on the 1951 United Nations Refugees Convention, but South Africa is also party to several major international human rights treaties, which protect the rights of all people to socio-economic rights, including refugees and migrants. So that what the white paper has in mind would breach not just the Refugees Convention, but several other treaties.
Look, Jason, the overburdening of South Africa's national resources as per the draft is a concern as some illegal migrants break immigration laws, entering the country in drones without proper documentation, residing in most of the so-called hijacked buildings, as well as flooding public healthcare services. Is this not a valid claim, Jason? Reports indicate that scores of undocumented foreign nationals residing in the country that don't fall under the refugee as well as asylum seekers realm, these are the people who return to their home countries during the festive season or any other holidays.
Well, Alicia, one of our major concerns is that there hasn't been proper research and there aren't proper facts in the white paper. And so this claim is made repeatedly. And SERI's whole reason for existence is to fight poverty and inequality, to fight for the socio-economic rights of everyone in the country. But what we're seeing here is an overstated claim without evidence about the burden on South African resources. Let me give you just one example in relation to social grants. The 350 Rand Social Relief of Distress Grant, the SRD grant, which has been in place since 2020. In 2022, it was reported that there were 15,000 foreign applicants for that grant, as against 13.5 million applicants in total. That was about 0.1%. So 1 in 1,000 were foreign nationals. So that's the sort of evidence we actually need to be engaging with so that we can see, well, what is the burden? But the other side of that, Alicia, is that there is extensive evidence of the economic benefits, including job creation, of migration. There's a 2018 World Bank sponsored study that found that in South Africa, one immigrant who is working on average produces 2 jobs for South Africans. So one immigrant creates 2 South African jobs. And that's the kind of evidence that we need to engage with in this policy discussion and not ignore.
And speaking of engagements, Jason, have you engaged with Home Affairs and presented the said research at your disposal and tried to find amicable solutions to the issue, sir?
Well, that's the process we're now engaged in. So we take these policy and lawmaking processes seriously. We're trying to make government work. And we've made our submissions alongside other civil society organizations. We say that it's unconstitutional and bad policy to take away socio-economic rights from migrants and refugees. And we also say that the department needs, in the white paper, to deal with xenophobia. So we've made our suggestions. But our position at this stage is that really we need to go back to the drawing board on this white paper. Mm-hmm. There needs to be a proper process of consultation. The department took apparently about 4 years to produce the draft white paper, and then gave only 2 months of public consultation, most of that over December, January. And it just isn't enough time for us to really engage as a country over these important issues.
And Jason, we also don't have enough time, but you also say that the white paper did very little to address the crises of institutional xenophobia within the DHA. Please elaborate further on that, sir.
Well, we make 2 points. The one point is about xenophobia in the country, and the other is about xenophobia in the department, institutionalized xenophobia, institutional xenophobia. And we're concerned that both need to get more attention. In relation to xenophobia in the country, the white paper is silent on this, and it should really be the Department of Home Affairs that's leading us. There is a national action plan to fight racism and xenophobia, and it commits government to doing certain things which haven't yet been done. And we would look to Home Affairs to lead on that in the fight against xenophobia, and to do so externally in the country, but also in its own internal staffing, training, and decision-making.
Thank you so much for your contribution there. That is Jason Brickhill, the SERI Director of Litigation, with a reaction there to the white paper draft by Minister Motsoaledi. We are hoping that the Department of Home Affairs can also come and give clarity on some of the issues raised on this interview.